Hello, it's Clemens, and in today's video I want to address a few topics, so it's somehow a question answering video, Q&A video. So to also keep the video somehow organized, I've included this timeline at the bottom of the video, and you can feel free to skip to the parts that you're interested in or skip the parts that you're not interested in, etc. So a little index here, what is included in this video. I will address first, if there will be some sort of plugin format of AutoTonic one day. Second thing I want to address is if there are any chord templates you can use in AutoTonic. And the third thing I want to address is the mute keys. What do the mute keys do? Okay, so let's jump into the first topic here, which is, will there be a VST audio unit plugin format one day? So the short answer is no, and the reason why is the only benefit of having more comfort. So it's very comfortable if you have a plugin format that you can load up and you don't have to care about MIDI routing or such, but it's for the worse technically, and also it limits you in compatibility, because if you're going to make your real-time application processor dependent or dependent on the processing engine and power and resources of your DAW, that is actually for the worse. Even if MIDI is at minor scale than audio, but it affects it as well. Just think of real-time audio applications like Waves, SoundGrid, or UAD's Unison. These real-time applications wouldn't be solvable within your DAW, to be processed within your DAW as well. So it's for the worse to process something that is meant to be processed in live, to process it at a later point after passing several stages of signal path stages. And this is the one reason. So it's from the technical aspect, it's for the worse. Also depends very much on the DAW structure. See, there are different structures of DAWs, and you cannot generalize this, but every DAW uses buffer. So like these 32 samples minimum, or for mixing we use even larger buffer sizes like 1024 samples, which will give the DAW some tolerance to process their own tasks in time and compensate for these processings. And some DAWs use bad structure or not optimal, and they would affect MIDI. But even some people are using AutoTonic without DAW, so you can instantly send from AutoTonic to your hardware synthesizer or to your rack effects processor or GM device or sound canvas. And this is something really important. What comes here in mind is also the compatibility. If you're using a VST plugin, you won't be able to use it in Logic or somewhere else where another plugin format is required, and vice versa. So yeah, it's a lot of limitations that are coming along with the plugin format, and you always have to list what's compatible and not and stuff. And with the standalone version, you not only have the technical most logical approach by instantly processing the signal after your source, but you also have most compatibility, and that makes much more sense. I know most people hate MIDI routing and they haven't understood about it yet, and it's very complicated. Maybe should do a video about MIDI itself, about the protocol at a later point, but it makes much more sense to use the raw MIDI routings and process the MIDI right after the source, so where the input is. So AutoTonic grabs it right here and processes it then. Also with the standalone, with AutoTonic, by the way, if you're not going to use certain modifiers like the stacking function, or if you're not going to use certain functions like the mute keys, then AutoTonic will also exclude them from the signal path. So very slim structure where there only will get applied what is really necessary. Eventually some DAWs will even further filter route. We should really do some measurements one day and compare it, but it's for sure for the worse to use or to tie your signal path to a certain structure. So this is for the first question, I guess. There won't be any plugin format. Now the second topic I want to address in this video is the chord templates. Are there content? I just got asked by a user if there are chord templates. So for example, there is this XOXOX, then it will be by a single key press, it will be a triad chord. But it will be only a triad chord within the 7-note based scale. So as you know, you have these two modifiers in AutoTonic. Let's hide this for a moment. So we have two modifiers, the tonic so where the scale starts, and then we have the scale modifier, so which scale is based on this tonic. And if we're going to set up, for example, the tonic on D sharp and then set up a certain scale, it will be highlighted here in the output what scale is going to be used. And with modal transposing, there's no such triads in certain scales, so this will be only a triad will only work in 7-note based scales. But as soon as you're going to use some unusual scales like this, for example, then you can see instantly that these are not any triads anymore in the output. And for this case, yeah, I have this thing here. This is a kid's toy. This is a toy from my kid. And here you can see somehow the concept of AutoTonic as well, because there's a linear keyboard in the input and certain keys, sorry for that, and there are certain notes mapped to these keys in the output. So it's an input section and the output section, and this would be a triad then eventually. But as soon as you're going to remap the output, it won't be a triad anymore. It would be a triad shape at the input, but not a triad at the output anymore. So let's jump back to AutoTonic here. For example, if we set up only tonic notes, then as you can see now clearly in the output, we do not have any triad anymore. This is something completely different. So it makes not any sense to declare here chords, as we're not using these traditional chord declarations in AutoTonic. Instead, we really have to go with this X and O system. So these are defining if there is an interval set or not, and there's nothing else we can do here. So we cannot define this will be always a major 7th chord or stuff. So it's really it's really an independently new system here created with modal scales, where in every different scale, depending on how much intervals there are used. So, whoops, this I wanted to show. So depending, if you're going to switch scale, then the output pattern of the chord will look different. So no, there are no chord templates, but you can of course use this copy and paste function here. So you can click into the modifier and press Command A or Control A to select the modifier's intervals, and then copy and paste them, of course, and store these into your headers, your custom scales, of course, your custom chord patterns, and save and export them for later use. So that's the only way how you can manage these, but there's no templates. So the third topic I wanted to cover in this video is having to do with the mute keys. What are mute keys? Mute keys can be found either by clicking onto this input label here, or by clicking onto the output label. So they will bring up this overlay, and which you then can toggle by clicking either on single keys or by click swiping over them. And all that there is to them is that they will mute the output of certain notes. And how can that be useful? Well, there's so many more new techniques that have become possible with mute keys. I won't be able to cover them all here, but just give you a hint of an idea. You can use them for creating split zones on your keyboard, and that can be then assigned to different outputs or MIDI routings, or to different scales and tonics or stackings, or pitch corrections, you get the point. There's a lot of functions that can be combined with, and the zones can act differently, or they even can respond to a same key switching. So these are the mute keys all about, and I want to just give you a simple demonstration here where I'm using an instrument that reacts differently to MIDI channel 1 and MIDI channel 2. So a MIDI channel 2 I have already set up, prepared a bass instrument, and on MIDI channel 1 we're using an E piano. So all we have to do is now to open 2 instances of AutoTonic by clicking here onto this new instance button, and then make them listen to the same input part, to the same source signal, like my hardware MIDI keyboard controller, but output different to different MIDI channels. So here I'm outputting to MIDI channel 2, and here I'm outputting to MIDI channel 1. What I now wanted to do is to create a split point, like in the middle here, C3, or the middle C, note number 60. So let's mute everything above note number 60 here in this instance, and do vice versa here in this instance. Let's also remove these stackings from the previous topics here. Okay, let's reset them. And now let's also sync the instances so they will use the same setting. And now we have already set up a split scenario, so where everything I'm playing below note 60 is going to be the bass, and everything above is going to be the E piano. So with the bass we eventually want to also compensate a little for the pitch height, and eventually we're also going to use some different settings as with the other instance. For example, we will leave out some intervals here to make the playing more interesting. We'll have to compensate a little again. So we're reducing harmonic context for the bass, but still with the E piano, with the upper area, we are using full context from our initial scale. So you get the point. You can create split zones where you assign different parameters or different settings to different zones, and you can do this for single keys or for multiple zones, as many zones as you want to, or create just two play upper and lower hand areas which will use different stackings. Or you can, for example, for the upper instance, you can use a chord triggering, and the lower section you then can freely play the bass on. As well, you can include then key switchings, so you can really play with syncing instances and do something that wasn't able to do before. And yeah, these are mute keys, so you can easily create split zones. So that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed and found it useful. If you liked it, then please don't hesitate and subscribe and ring the bell and stuff. And yeah, we will see us next time. Thank you very much. Bye bye.